I already had a pre-recorded video already set up for the Progetto 46, but I was a complete dumbass to realize that when I was recording, my mic was muted the whole time. And I am extremely disappointed for that matter because I had 3 very solid games in this vehicle. But the good news is that these replays ended up being saved in my folder. I just gotta favorite them real quick. Showcasing the very solid and deadly capabilities of this Tier 8 auto-reloading beast. So, once we go ahead and take a look at the individual stats of this vehicle, it has 80mm thick on its turret and 60mm of frontal hull armor. And this is what the current armor profile looks like. It's not going to be pretty. There's going to be a lot of pen spots that occur on the vehicle right here. Pretty much the majority of the turret can be overmatched, including the cheats, the upper part, and even some parts of the gun mantlet along with that. The full-on upper infrastructure is going to be easily overmatched along with the lower. And when using gun depression, makes no difference whatsoever as these cheeks are still going to be exposed and vulnerable to any form of a standard and premium ammo along with that. And then this is what the side of the vehicle looks like. The side of the turret's only 62 to 72. Then the full-on side is upwards of 66 to 35. And then making our way towards the rear, the back of the turret is only 25. And then 20 on the full-on rear. And yes, of course, HEs are going to be vulnerable to any forms of the rear of this vehicle in that regards. Along with that, this vehicle carries 2,272 damage per minute with a intra-clip reload time of 2.50 when you fire one shell and are auto-reloading the second one. And then for the auto-reload time on the 3 shells, it's 6.34 for the first one and 4.98 for both the second and the third shells. And then for the average penetration, this tank is very solid in terms of its penetration. 194 on the standard, 272 on the premium, which is actually very insane considering that you can cut through the majority of tier 9s frontally for that matter, including a lot of spaced armor too in that regards too, and 49 on the high explosive. Combined as well with average damage being of 240 on the standard, 190 on the premium, and 270 on the high explosive. Combined as well with the very solid 2.8 seconds of aiming time with 0.269 dispersion. And then finally for the maneuverability, the tank goes at a top speed of 55 with a reverse of 20, and a very solid power to weight of 22.8 while at that. So we're going to go ahead and get into these replays right here and demonstrate some very solid gameplay on how I use the Progetto 46 to the best of my ability. Since this vehicle is an auto reloader, I like to use what is called the one-shot mechanic, and that is where I fire the first shell because I have a 5-second reload time in order to reload that first shell once again. And then when I know that I have dumped the amount of shells into my enemy and they are down in hit points to a point to where I know for a fact that I have the alpha damage in order to finish them off within the 3 shells in my clip, then that is exactly what I do. So in this one, let's see what they got in terms of their mediums. They have a Barask and a Chimera. So I figured that since my TL7 was going over towards the right side, that I figured I would go along with him. But I wanted to be sure that none of their mediums were going to be spotted over towards A side. So I just kind of sat back for a little bit, and then I waited upon my behalf of, along with I can't speak today, but that's okay. Anyways, now that the mediums are spotted, my impatience, that's the word I was looking for. Anyways, we already got the Chimera and the Barask spotted. We do spot the Barask right there, but unfortunately, we do not get the 2 shells into him as the game screwed us right there. But we are able to get the 3rd shell on the Chimera. I know I dumped the 3 shells off to a very early start, but that was just to make sure that I wanted to help out my TL7 to the best that I can. So I know that I do not want to fight a Barask at the moment because I knew that I bounced 2 shells off him. So I turned my attention over towards the Chimera as I want to try my best to support my TL7 just to make sure that he doesn't die in the process. Or for the matter of fact, if the TL7 does end up getting a pretty solid chunker of hit points dealt into the Chimera, which he doesn't, unfortunately enough, but I was able to use the one-shot mechanic on this one. You saw we were able to get a good shell into him. We're waiting to reload my clip. There's a solid 220 damage into his vehicle. We get a 2nd shell into him for a max roll, and there is the 3rd shell. And that is exactly what I'm talking about using the single shell mechanic. You can only fire 1 shell in at the moment because you have really solid reload time. And then once your enemy comes down to a point of hit points to where you know that you can finish them off, then that is exactly how you can pursue it for that matter. You're also saving DPM for that matter when you're only firing 1 shell along with that. So there we go. We got a shell into the brass. We're reloading our first clip once again. There we go. And now he comes down to a point to where we can overmatch his rear and finish him off with the next 2 shells. And there you go. Another great example, having a deadly autoloader at that. And that actually just goes to show that autoloaders can be deadly, for that matter, when using the single shot mechanic, which is a very highly expected mechanic to use upon the skilled player's behalf when they're using this vehicle. So anyways, we're going to mosey on through to the last 2 enemies right along over here. We got the Gravedigger off in the back. I did fire 3 shells in on the Gravedigger just because I thought I had enough alpha damage in order to finish him off, which it looked like that I did, but I didn't. I low-rolled the shot at the last second, but the Gravedigger is cleared. Alright, so now all that's left is the enemy K2. I get an unfortunate bounce on his side, but we are able to mosey on through. Very solid reload time at that, and we are able to get the clear on the K2. And that is a very solid first game, demonstrating the single shot mechanic to the best that I can, breaking past the 3,000 damage mark in this battle. We were also able to pull a second class, kill 3, and do top on the team while at it. So let's go ahead and get into the second replay on Canyon then. This one was a little bit of a strange battle, considering that I did my best to peck off some of the enemies while going up towards B side in that regards, and then some of the enemies decided to want to come and push up on the hill and try to outmaneuver me to the best that they can. So, but luckily enough, this was another 3,000 damage game at that, and we are going to see the single shot mechanic being demonstrated fairly solidly in this battle. So in terms of their mediums, they have another Chimera and they have a Type 62 along with that. Alright, so I know that I'm getting some support coming along with me towards the left side, which is really good. And I know I have 9 degrees of gun depression, which means that I can poke over the ridgeline over on base B fairly solidly, in case if any vehicles decide to want to push on up over towards B base. But that doesn't happen to be the case, as all their vehicles decided to want to go towards the left side, or the far left side, as I should say. And yep, there's the Chimera already spotted off in the back right there. And we also got the Yo pushing on out, and then the Jagdpanther 2 is pushing on up. So we're able to dump out 1 shell into him. I do decide to fire a second one into him, and now we reload the clip. Alright, so we do got a Yo out in the open right there, and we absolutely ruin this player's day by the time that we reload our full clip. Alright, so we are going to mosey on up towards the Yo and get a nice 234 tapper into his vehicle. We're going to get a second one into that too and reload both of our shells, as like I said before, that is a very good way of saving your DPM, is if you have both of your shells loaded at that, or if you're able to fire one of them no matter if it's the second or the third shell in that regards. So reloading the clip once again, let's go ahead and fire 1 more shell and finish off this M3 Yo. And that is another very solid example to saving your DPM to the best that you can. Now the Yo is trying to push up right behind us. He does get a solid tap into one of our vehicles off in the back. So we are reloading our full clip once again so that we have enough clipping potential in order to outmatch this guy. So this is a very solid tap for 252 into him. We're reloading our first shot once again, so that's basically saving our DPM once again. There's another tap for 219 into his vehicle, reloading once again on the M4 Yo. Alright, he does angle at the slightest bit, but the good news is about that solid premium penetration, so we are able to overmatch the angular part of the M4 Yo, and he is cleared in the process. Now this is where some of the things that the enemy team does is a little strange, because now they have 2 Jagdpanther 2s, one of them is off in the back, and then the other one is off in the far back, and the Chimera decides to want to make a very aggressive maneuver trying to poke up out there, but he did expose himself, and now the Semavente as well. Oh, there's the Jagdpanther 2. Okay, there's one of them. And then here comes the Semavente along with the Type 62 off right behind there. Now, I noticed that the Type 62 is only 9 HP, and I know for a fact that since I got the shell in the Semavente, I bait the Type 62 thinking that I'm only a single shot, but that's the beauty of being an auto reloader. Once a little pest like that is low health trying to peck you off in the back. There we go, and there's a nice clear into the Jagdpanther 2. Unfortunately, the Chimera does end up hitting us in the process. That's not necessarily that good, but it gives us time to back on up and reload our full clip. Now, I kind of decided to make a decision to whether to go for the Chimera or the Semavente, but I do decide to go for the Semavente, as I do assume that he was in the range in order for me to dump all 3 of my shells, but unfortunately, Wargaming decides to screw me and lets me bounce the hatch for no reason. Now, the Semavente gets another shell into me. I was a little cautious at the moment, trying to make sure that he does not spot me while I'm hiding right along here. The Chimera does spot me, but oh, unfortunately, he misses the shell at that. That is unfortunate upon his behalf, which now gives me the mere advantage to go on over, as all 3 shells in my clip are fully reloaded. So there is the Chimera. He's going to try to poke on out once again. Good thing the Tiger 2 is beside me, because he is a heavy and has the hit points to take some hits for me, as I know that since the Chimera is more focused and sidetracked with the Tiger 2, now I have the advantage to get another tap into the back of his vehicle for 282 damage. Alright, and it looks like that we are going to win this battle once again. Like I said, it is a win at that, so I don't know what I was talking about saying that. But the Tiger does end up coming on through over beyond the ridgeline right here, and decides to want to use his heavy vehicle to the best that he can. Gets a nice tap into the Chimera, and we get the clear in on him. And there is another very solid game demonstrating the positive factors that contribute towards this auto-loading beast. And there we go, another 3,000 damage, 3,486, destroying 4 in the process, pulling out a first class, and doing top on the team once again. And let us go ahead and get into the third game on Lagoon. And in terms of their mediums for this one, they have a P-44 Pantera, and they also have a T-43 along with that. And we also got an Astron Rex and a Comet in terms of our mediums. So what we're going to do is we're going to mosey on over to Seaside and see what tries to end up poking on over. Maybe off in the back, or maybe if they try to attack the hill in that matter. So let's go ahead and see how we can fare well upon, or how we fared well upon this battle. So we're moseying on through over to base C. The good news is, upon that 9 degrees of gun depression, I can poke my turret out just in case and try to peck off some of the enemies off in the back, in case if they are spotted back there. But that does not look like it is going to be the case, as the Astron Rex does pull on forward and nobody is spotted at the bare minimum. So what I decide to do is I go ahead and mosey on upward towards the ridgeline, as I did spot one of their vehicles trying to go over to base B at that matter. So there we go. We're going to mosey on through over towards that ridgeline and go right beyond the hill towards the right, as we already got a P-44 Pantera already spotted off in the back. So we're just going to mosey on through to the hill right along here. And what I decide to do is I go ahead and help out my Astron Rex, take out that P-44 Pantera. He misses his first shell, which is unfortunate, but he does get the second one out for 302. And he decides to miss the third one, which is unfortunate. So, but the good news is that there's another vehicle off in the back, which is the Comet. He does end up bouncing the shell, but it looks like one of our vehicles off towards the side ended up getting a solid chunker into him. So we're going to mosey on upward towards the Pantera, as he is within the range of our clipping potential in order to finish him off, which is really good. And now we spot the enemy Vindicator off in the back. And here is going to be another example demonstrating the one-shot mechanic to the best of the ability of this tank of what it has to handle for it. We got the Vindicator spotted. There's a nice tap for 243. Reloading the clip once again. So we're going to go ahead and get a second shell into him. He does get hit once again. And now we are able to dump out the remaining 2 shells in order to finish him off. Yes, once again, very solid factor in contributing towards an auto reloader, especially a deadly one at that, which is what the Progetto 46 is. So now we are going to mosey on over towards the enemies off in the back, as now it is a 4-on-4 scenario, giving as much time as possible to reload all the shells in my clip, and continuing to mosey on forward. Now, we do spot 2 vehicles that are right behind the hill right along here, which is the M6 and the RHM. The Astron tries to go and see if he can get some taps into the RHM, but that doesn't happen to be the case, as we do spot the M6 as he made a slight overpoke, and we were able to get 231 hit points out of his vehicle. Astron Rex decides to want to use his hold down capabilities and get a nice tap into him as well. Unfortunately, the M6 missed, so that gives us the mere opportunity to see if we can spot him. We do have a little piece of his turret that we could try to overmatch, but unfortunately, we did miss the shell at that. So what I decided to do is I go ahead and mosey on through right along the other side, and I continue moving on forward towards the M6 as I know that he is in the range in order to be cleared with my clipping potential. So there's 1 shell, there's a second shell at that, and there is a third shell. Again, using that deadly auto reloader to the best of my ability, showcasing that I know that a vehicle is within the range of my clipping potential, and I'm able to finish him off at the bare minimum. So we got the RHM off in the back. We are able to spot him. I'm just reloading all the shells in my clip. There's a nice tap for 230 of AG. We're able to get a second one at that too, and we are able to, unfortunately, not able to get the third, as I am going to reload my clip once again and get my 2 shells dumped into him. Unfortunately, it does not happen to be the case for the first, but the second one, the Astron Rex gets a nice tap into him, and now we clear him straight forward. All right, so now the K2 is going to mosey on through right on us. We get a very lucky bounce right here along with that. So now I have 2 shells in my clip loaded. I know I'm going to get 2 shells into this guy, so my Astron Rex, once he reloads his clip, will be able to finish him off. T-43 is pecking me off, and I do get hit as well by the K2, which is totally fine. So, reloading 2 shells and waiting for the third in my clip, but I decide, since the Astron Rex did get a tap into him, now I have the mirror advantage to take care and finish off the T-43. And there you go, 3 very solid games breaking past 3,000 damage in a row, I should say, demonstrating the positive factors that lead towards the Progetto 46 and why, in my opinion, this is one of the deadliest auto-reloading tanks in Tier 8. So 3691 damage to Strength 5 in the process, and doing top on the team once again. And like I said before, the single shot mechanic, when you're using an auto reloader, it can actually account for the majority of auto reloaders that accrue throughout the game as well. And using it to the best of your ability, you'll be able to master the play styles of these vehicles without a hitch. It's really what factors in, and why, in my personal opinion, that this is one of the deadliest Tier 8s out there at the moment. So anyways, hopefully you guys did end up enjoying today's video, and if you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and make sure to turn on those bell notifications while at it so you don't miss out on any new videos, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out, y'all.